We show that to people in every retreat. So, and it is very illustrative of how this works. You can actually see these complex geometric patterns, and then they increase the energy using sound, and you see the pattern just go into chaos, and then it just goes boing, and there's a new pattern, and it's more complex than the other one. And so it's a great illustration of exactly what we're talking about. Now the brain is the ultimate dissipative structure. It's probably the most complex system that anybody has ever identified. And so when we give this holosync input to the brain, you remember I said that we're causing, by taking it down to lower beat frequencies, we are causing greater and greater electrical fluctuations in the brain. And by lowering the carrier frequency, that the higher those that the big waves at the ocean are the low frequency ones. So what we're doing is we're giving the brain more and more and more fluctuation. Or you could say this whole system of nadis, we're giving it more and more and more fluctuation. And it can't handle this fluctuation the way that it's structured. So at a certain point, this entropy that it needs to dissipate to maintain the flow, to maintain its structure, it begins to build up. And as it begins to build up, finally the system comes to a point where it breaks down, and then it reorganizes at a higher level. People often ask me, before they get in the program especially, well, couldn't it reorganize at a lower level? Or that's not the way it works. This is just as much of an irrevocable law of the universe as is the second law of thermodynamics. And in fact, you might say that if you really step back and look at the universe, that there's this process going on where all the orderliness is congregating in one place, and all the entropy is being pushed outside of it. So, when they talk about the Big Bang Theory, they talk about it all being in this one little point, and then it's all expanding. It's almost like it's expanding back into itself, in a way. The more that the universe expands, the more it goes back to one point of ultra-organization. So we'll see. We'll wait for the end of that and find out really what happens. I plan on living long enough to see it. So let's see. What else have I going on? I guess the way we should really talk about this is in terms of this map of reality that I was talking about. And so I want to introduce another another concept here. Alan Watts talks quite often about the fact that the map is not the territory. And what he means by that is that we have a map of reality that we create in our head. And this map is really what most people call the ego. And it's not a bad thing that you have this map, but you have to remember that the map is not reality. It's only a representation of reality. When you have that map, are all the windows closed? I guess they are. Some chaos going on out there. Glenn Ivy is reorganizing at a higher level. When you have a road map, it's really a great thing. You're driving, across country, and you've got this road map because you don't know the way that well, and you can look at the map and you can tell where to turn and when you're going to get to a town and all this sort of thing. But if you made the mistake of thinking that you could park on those little lines, or that you could go camping on those little triangles that represent mountains, then you'd be mistaking the map for the territory. So the map, your map of reality, your ego, is very useful because it allows you to kind of motor around life and have something that helps you to know where to turn and where to spend the night and where to park.
Could you just go over that real quickly once again? Somehow I missed it. What the ego actually does for us?
Your map of reality, your internal map of reality, is really your ego. And it's good that you have a map, because it allows you to navigate through life, just like we use a road map to navigate. The universe is so complex, with so many numbers of infinite interrelationships, that there's no way you could hold all of that in your mind. So instead, since that's not possible, you have a map which represents reality, but is not as complex as reality. Because if it were as complex as reality, it wouldn't be useful. This is really the same thing as when I said, play Hamlet, but don't be Hamlet. It's the same thing to say, use your map, but don't get fooled into thinking that the map is reality. So, when you get in a situation where your map can't handle the situation you're in, pretty soon your map will not be able to dissipate the entropy that it needs in order to maintain its structure. So the map begins to get chaotic. And pretty soon it reaches that bifurcation point, if you're lucky, and it ceases to really be a viable system. But it reorganizes itself instantly, and you have a new map which represents reality more closely and can handle what it was that was overwhelming the old map. Now here's the thing, is that when your map of reality starts to fall apart, whether it's from using Holosync, or whether it's because you're in a relationship where it's giving you input that doesn't make sense from your map to your map, or whether it's something happening at your job, or whatever it is, when that map starts to fall apart, do you say, oh, my internal map of reality is falling apart? Well, it's falling apart because it can't handle the environment I'm in. And once it falls apart, I'm going to get a new one that's going to work better, and it's going to be able to handle what it can't handle now, and I won't feel so stressed and overwhelmed. Hallelujah! Do we say that? No. We say, I'm falling apart. Because one of the central dilemmas of being a human being is that we do think the map is the territory. We think we are our ego. All that stuff that you've already read about, you are not your ego. Everybody in here probably could say, oh yeah, I know that. I'm not my ego. But when it really comes down to brass tacks, we all behave as if we are our ego. In other words, we believe that the map is the territory, and when the map starts to fall apart, when it goes into this chaos which precedes evolution, which precedes a quantum leap, which precedes the system that makes it up escaping into a higher order, which is how Prigogine described it, we say, whoa, I'm falling apart, because we identify ourselves with that. Now, what if you didn't do that? What if you said what I said the first time? What if you said, oh, this map is not working that well? I can tell because it's starting to become all chaotic. Something in the environment is giving it more input beyond its ability to dissipate the entropy that it needs to maintain this flow. Oh, good. It's going to fall apart, and it's going to reorganize itself at a higher level, and I'm going to have a better map that's going to be more inclusive. It's going to see and experience and deal with more of the oneness that makes up reality. You see how I'm really just sort of coming at the same thing of oneness from different directions with different models so that you can kind of see how this is real stuff. This stuff about oneness is not just some beautiful metaphor. It's really the way the universe works. And this is how you evolve toward it, is that your map of reality continues to reorganize at higher levels and higher levels and higher levels until it is taking into account pretty much everything. But in order to do that, you've got to have a pretty darn purified nervous system that can handle all of the energy of the universe flowing through it. And that you can't do all at once. That's why it goes in these steps, these little quantum leaps as it reorganizes. Does that make sense to you now?